Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is David Holliday, the VP of National Student Exchange. I'm also the NSE coordinator at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. Thanks so much for joining us for today's NSE webinar. We're focusing on coordinator recruitment best practices. We're featuring several of our NSE coordinators who had some of the most effective recruitment strategies in this past year. And I'm really happy with this mix of coordinators because number one, they were successful with their recruitment efforts, but they also represent a large swath of our NSE campuses in terms of location, in terms of size, in terms of campus type. And they also represent a variety of positions and or offices on their campus. Like all of you, NSE is just one small part of their job. May not even be listed on their job description. I think some of us have that benefit of it being in our job description. And you may hear some overlap in strategies. That's okay because there are a lot of things that work universally across all of our campuses. So you'll hear some repetition, but you're also going to hear some unique approaches and unique messages to recruiting NSE students. So we ask that you pick and choose the strategies that work best for you and your campus. And without further delay, I'm happy to introduce Maria Amelia from Northern Arizona University. This past priority placements in March, Maria successfully placed 15 students compared to 9 the previous year. So we like to really celebrate some of the growth and improvement in our from our NSE campuses. So Maria Amelia, please take it away.
Thank you, David. Thank you for the lovely introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Maria Emilia. I'll share some recruitment strategies that I use while recruiting for NSE on our campus. We have around 26,000 students. I think that's also including some of our satellite campuses across Arizona. So trying my best to push that message out and encourage students to apply to the National Student Exchange program and all of its wonderful benefits that come with it. So I wanted to highlight some that I've incorporated this past year. First, utilizing campus-wide messaging systems. Sometimes I understand like emails can be very difficult to send out if there are restrictions on campuses. So finding ways to work around that. NAU has a campus-wide app that all of our students download for maps on our bus systems, for class schedules, you name it. We call it NAU Go. Every department has the opportunity to submit like 2 to 3 push notifications every semester to campus-wide students that have the app or have text messages linked on their phone with opportunities. So I have utilized this as a way to get the message out on a wide scale. Just a simple note of what NSE is and then who to contact to follow through that opportunity. So that is one strategy. I would recommend checking in your departments to see if there's something like this. Using technology as kind of a tool would be great. So ask around, see if this is a possibility. Club and classroom presentations are a great way to get in front of student faces. This is kind of like they're obligated to listen to you during class time or during a club time. NAU has over 400 clubs, so many that are affiliated to like ethnicities or niche interests. So kind of tailoring those presentations on, like certain types of programs, highlighting like HBCUs or Hispanic serving institutions to clubs like Latinx Student Union or our Black Student Union club. So there are opportunities like that to connect student organizations with opportunities through NSE. And on our campus, we have freshman courses. They're called NAU 100. So a lot of freshmen take this as kind of their beginning time on campus. It's usually a 7.5-week course. This year, we have integrated a study abroad / study away presentation within this course. Thankfully, they let us take one of their classes and talk about the benefits of becoming not only a global citizen, but also a citizen across the US and getting to know different states. So this is a great way to connect with students. I also peer-to-peer advising and presentations and word of mouth is something that I've seen help a lot with numbers. Within our office, we do have student ambassadors that come from either the scholarship requirement through our office or students that want to share about their experiences and talk about how wonderful their past semester or year were abroad or away. We use those individuals as a method of recruitment. They have to reach a certain volunteer hour threshold. And one of those opportunities is our club presentations, class presentations. We let them know like what to cover and highlight their own experiences. They also love to talk to friends. And sometimes I get a couple that come into my office that are like, oh, a friend referred me to this program and talked great about it. So great way to use peer-to-peer, connecting with your first year in general advising, wonderful connections on campus. Here at NAU, we're transitioning more to a general advising scope, but we used to have first year dedicated advisors. This past year, I connected with them, let them know about the opportunity. It's a great way for students to start thinking about NSE a little bit early on into the process, but also advising in general if there are any gaps in courses or students that are nervous about going away or studying abroad. NSE is a great source for that. And as well, tabling and fairs, great way to get on campus, whether it's on our main pedway by the Union or tailored fairs that are at like NAU recruitment events for admissions. We try our best to get a table at any of those events. And I talk generally about study abroad and NSE. So as you probably picked up by now, I am located in our study abroad office on campus. So it's definitely navigating both realms, but I do my best to highlight NSE as its own organization and also has very different benefits than I think in comparison. So yeah, these are my recruitment strategies. And David, you can move on to the next slide. My most effective strategy, I would say, are the classroom presentations. Typically tailoring classroom presentation discussions towards the class that you're presenting in is so vital. So those NAU 100 classes explain the benefits of NSE and how that can incorporate into their time here or on campus. What does that look like for their progression plan? What does that mean academically? Will they progress well? I know there's always a concern of like, I don't want to add a semester or two to my time in my undergrad. And this should be something to highlight, like, no worries at all. This is an opportunity to get some classes and to fulfill those requirements. Also, some majors here at our university are limited or competitive on certain classes. So our psychology program is pretty competitive here, which means limited classes. So sharing with psychology students, hey, like if you can't find the class here at NAU, there's another campus out there that's willing to work with you to get those psychology credits. We also don't have marine biology classes here at NAU as we are pretty landlocked in the middle of nowhere. So sending students away to another institution that has opportunities that you can't typically find at a university, like our university, that is a great way to promote. I actually have a student at Rhode Island that's doing a year because of marine biology, absolutely loving it. So shout out to them. And then also highlighting graduate programs like, hey, great time to go scope out what your future might be. Check out a new state, find the gaps, and that's where you can present in classrooms for that. And then my best advice would be highlight the importance of NSE, what students can gain out of the experience. And I think that always perks up ears, whether it's shadowing grad schools, checking out a new state, experiencing a different college dynamic, like attending an HBCU, take classes in areas that you're passionate about or growing as an individual. So big supporter of NSE here. And that's my best advice is to highlight those positives. Yeah, best thing you can do. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Maria Amelia. And I do hope that there's a little time for Q&A at the end. But in the meantime, if folks do have questions or comments, feel free to use the chat. Wonderful. Thank you. We're going to move to Ball State University in Indiana, and I'd like to welcome Ashley and Shelby. And this past March, they placed 18 students compared to 15 the year before. And they're a very new campus. I think you're only 3 years into NSE membership, and you really hit the ground running with strong, solid numbers, giving your students great access to this program. So take it away, Shelby and Ashley.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I'm the director of study abroad, so that's where NSE lives on our campus, and I will send it right over to the very fabulous Shelby Knoll, who's been our sort of assistant NSE coordinator this year and is an absolute godsend.
I'm a graduate assistant here at Ball State, and my role is primarily advising students. I focus heavily on the NSE program. So some of our strategies that we found the most effective have been plugging in with admissions. So Ashley has built a lot of relationships with admissions. She gets her foot in the door to talk to students that are entering Ball State. As soon as they step foot on campus, they know that NSE is a reason to go to Ball State. So we provide trainings to admissions, academic advisors, student success coaches, university colleges, so that they know that we offer NSE as an option for students. It kind of meets also the demographic of our students. A lot of students in Indiana, our school specifically, they are Pell Grant recipients. They have 21st century scholars. So going out of state isn't necessarily something that they see as an option. So that's why they go to Ball State. So we kind of frame NSE as a cheat code to get the opportunity to go out of state, but paying that in-state rate and using all of their financial aid and resources that they need to get their degree. So that's really a highlight whenever we talk about NSE or any study abroad, study away programs. We highlight NSE as like one of your best opportunities. So that kind of goes into how we increase our visibility. So every tabling event, orientation, we use Comm Center, preview days, discovery days, anything. We do homeschool visits. We're there to talk about NSE as a highlighted program for studying away. Ashley also mentioned that she also partners with parents frequently. So kind of getting in cahoots with parents so that they know that their child can stay in state, even if they want to go out of state. They have these crazy dreams to do something, to kind of getting them to go to Ball State, but have that opportunity to maybe go for a semester away and see how they can still do that, but not do something that's totally unreasonable for their plans. And then classroom visits, that was one that Maria just talked about too. That is also something that we found to be very effective. So we have that living on our website, so professors can invite themselves to have us visit their classroom and talk about studying abroad. I really emphasize at the end of that presentation why they should consider NSE. I always talk about my own experience studying away. I studied in Canada, so I always tell students that this is something that you should definitely know about, and it's a great way to get you out of state, going into that cheat code kind of mentality. And then from there, once I get them in my office, it's a lot of follow-up and partnering with students. So like if they do an exploratory meeting with me because they know about NSE, I partner with them along the way just to get them every step to get them to submit that application. So it's kind of a lot of hand-holding and following up with emails and making sure that they know that I'm there to help them navigate the whole process.
Of all the things that we've done that have been most effective, I would say if you can get you a Shelby, that is the thing that has really made the biggest difference in my world. So last year I worked with a practicum student who was like in student affairs and higher ed administration. And so she was essentially a volunteer for our office. This year we have a dedicated line that is a graduate assistantship that's devoted primarily to NSE. It could be a peer ambassador, it could be a faculty fellow, it could be a part-time staff member. It could, if you're able to carve out time of your own time, NSE coordinators, then do that. I just really can't. And I think when I became a member, not yet 3 years ago, by the way, or even a little newer than that, I envisioned that I would just be all over it, but it's not realistic for my job. And so philosophically, it is at top of mind, but it really has been super effective to have a dedicated person who is there to be the partner directly to students. More full-time than I can. So that's made a huge difference. As far as our best advice moving forward, I'd recommend that NSE is on the tip of your tongue at all times. We really do feature it. If I think about all of our communication from stuff that our study abroad office has worked out with our marketing and comms office, like our one-pagers and student materials and, things that we pass out, NSE is always present on that. If I think about our info sessions, NSE is always one of 2 or 3 featured or signature experiences, and we present it like that. We are, as Shelby mentioned, when she goes to classroom visits, it doesn't just get thrown in, it gets like a whole mention. And so having it be on the tip of your tongues at all times. And then if necessary, bulldoze your way into your admissions team. I kind of don't take no for an answer by personality, but even if that's not you, I think in this case, it is such a win-win-win. There's no doubt it's good for the study abroad office or the study away office, that it will increase participation. It also is a tool for your admissions office. So if you look at the data, students make decisions about what universities and colleges to attend based on their perceptions of study abroad or study away opportunities. And so once your admissions office kind of can wrap their mind around that, they'll be begging to have you. But until that time, you may have to push your way in, because the third win, of course, is for students. And so we know that our students benefit from this experience. And so given that, I think, whatever you got to do to get your admissions office to start inviting you to stuff, that would be our advice.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ashley and Shelby. We're going to go to St. Olaf College, just a little bit south of me here in Minnesota, and Britton Duffing, who's the advising coordinator in international programs or global programs. I guess I forget the name of your office.
It's all
But
good.
take it away, Britton.
Yeah. So I'm Brittany. I do advising in our study abroad and away office. So we're called the Smith Center. But anyway, it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
This past year, I mean, I think a lot has changed politically. That's really been important to consider with the context of how our numbers increased from just 2 in 2025 to 14 currently placed for the 26-27 year. But when it comes to my strategies, maybe I'll jump into that. So I've done all like the standard emails that headquarters suggests, a couple emails right away when our applications open in November. And our applications for study abroad and away stay open for most programs into February. So kind of the students who are already eligible in November, and then in January, after fall semester grades post, I can catch first year students because they'll finally have a GPA and they have still time to apply by February for our applications for the upcoming academic year. So it's really tapping into just kind of a blast of the general information, even though, probably half of them get ignored. There are some students that do see that message and really take it to heart, like, oh my gosh, I am eligible. So I think that's a really good strategy to just actually follow through with if you can. Like some of the other campuses you've already heard from, I make sure that we feature NSE in all of our presentations, and I literally call it like featured campuses or featured programs. And I have a list from other kind of like one per continent kind of thing for since we're also studying abroad. But excuse me, including it in all of those presentations has been really helpful. Our team is in front of students from the time they're prospective students looking at coming to St. Olaf. There's admissions events that we tap into to once they're admitted, they're still deciding if they're going to, commit. We do like monthly or bi-month, kind of like twice a month, typically, study abroad and away 101 info session. So very basic introductions to study abroad and away, make sure it's featured there. Transfer students get a separate orientation. Again, it's put in front of them at that point. So really just trying to put it out there as much as we can in the sessions that we are able to offer. I think probably most important this past year has been our key partnership. So figuring out who those people are on your campus, what offices those might be, what majors or departments could kind of use a little supplementary opportunity maybe to their own academic offerings. And really also getting yourself in front of faculty and academic departments or student-facing staff and administrators. I've really made an effort in the past year and a half, I guess, to present to each academic department, kind of join one of their meetings and talk about our portfolio of programs and kind of what's available. And they're often surprised to know we have programs in a lot of locations, let alone elsewhere in the US at a lot of very great schools across the whole the US, Canada, Guam, Puerto Rico, like that opens their eyes. So really making sure everyone knows about it. And I think like when I say administrators, like dean of students has been really important because they deal with students who are in sometimes, challenging positions where they might be on academic probation and therefore their options become more limited, but they're having those conversations about ways to keep students engaged or to help them kind of refine their way. So I think that's a really important office to tap into for us at least. And then all of our first year students have like a year-long orientation that's built into one of their courses or kind of accompanies that course. It's called SOAR. And so again, it's kind of like a 101 section that study abroad and away gets featured in, but making sure it's in their face again right away when they're here as first year students. The next slide, I think. So I mentioned that key partnerships are really important. We have an office called the Taylor Center, and that deals with our gender, sexuality, international students, and BIPOC students. And that has probably been one of the most important players for us this past year, year and a half under the administration and the policies that have been put out there around travel bans for people of certain ethnic demographics or countries, I should say. And they always together, we've always said, okay, so abroad might not be your option. How about study away? Like you can still have an opportunity. So they were on board with that. And like together, we really pushed it as an alternative to study abroad. I should say that we're a small campus of around 3,000 students, but around 70% of our student body studies abroad or away at least once. So it's really baked into the culture. So generally, I don't have to do recruitment for study abroad or away programming, just big picture. We're not out there pushing. It just kind of happens for us. But those students are looking for something that they can still tap into when maybe what they really wanted to do was no longer an option. So I really saw that play out as a lot of our students were no longer able to travel outside of the US because they'd have to get a visa and they actually can't get one because they're on the travel ban now. So they really are stuck. I would also say probably the other key one that's newer this year or that's come up more is individual majors. So that's for students that are looking for a major that we don't offer. And via NSE, there's so many different majors from what we have. I can really help them curate their classes that they need to complete whatever major they've designed for themselves. And then Trio SSS, we have a decent student body there that belongs to that organization. Probably really unique to us and perhaps some others who are study abroad offices. You might be able to do this as well. So, of course, home pay is probably preferential for a lot of us, but I also have been able to tap into the away pay option, but kind of treat it like home pay. So, like for study abroad programs, a lot of us probably, if you do this, we pay tuition out on behalf of our students behind the scenes. They pay our tuition, they remain enrolled with us, but our partners charge us the tuition that we're paying on their behalf. And so I've been tapping into the away pay option via NSE and kind of doing that same thing. Even though the student might get the invoice directly, a lot of your institutions have options to do third-party payments. There's like an authorization form oftentimes, and I can complete that, or the student completes it that authorizes me to pay, or I log in with them, get the invoice, have our business office issue a check to that school. So there's kind of different workarounds depending on what the school that you're sending a student to requires. But that has really expanded the opportunity. And I know I'm fortunate to do that because we also, we're a private institution. Our tuition is more or less greater than most of the partners that I am sending students to on away pay via NSE. So it still remains relatively affordable for our office as well compared to what we're paying out for some of our study abroad programs tuition on behalf of students. So I would encourage looking into that. I know there's some more updates probably coming from NSE in the future around other ways that that kind of situation might be able to play out, but offering both really increased my opportunities for students and kind of made some of those harder to get into campuses like the University of Hawaii Manoa, for example, an option for our students. So I would say like tap into what resources you can that way. And my best advice, like kind of everyone else, has just been to keep NSE at the forefront, to mention it to students any chance you can. Like I said, study abroad is a really big thing here, but study away is still kind of less glamorous, shall we say, less considered. And so I like to even tell students, even when they're not wanting to think about it, like, hey, this is an option. If whatever else that you're planning doesn't work out, let's talk about this, just so you know it exists. And then don't give up because, like I said, we went from 2 to 14. That's huge. And we've been on for a few years, and it's just been slow growth. But you can do it. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Britton. Appreciate it. Okay, next up we have Mindy May from University of Montana. And Mindy is relatively new NSE coordinator just starting this year, inherited a program that was pretty small with 3 outbound students last year, but increased that number to 10 for this last priority placements in March. Take it away, Mindy.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for the opportunity. And I must give some clarification. So we had the program in the hands of a very capable woman, and she was super busy, and so probably didn't give it as much attention as she would have liked. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to get to know the program and also to work with students and share this awesome opportunity. So moving forward, we have tried several different things, as you can see from my list, But a large part of it has been thankfully to David and what he's done and what other campuses have done. So blast email to the targeted demographic. That was an awesome opportunity showcase to the students that would most likely be able to utilize this program. I have two peer mentors that work with me, and I had them create a video, and that actually has been utilized in several different areas, class presentations, but also when I send information to students, I include the video or tabling different events. And so I feel like the peer mentor video was really helpful as they shared their experience with National Student Exchange. And I think coming from a peer, that's really super helpful. We also have a monthly newsletter, so I keep track of every student that we've talked to with tabling events, and so send it out to close to 100 students. Some maybe are participating, but maybe some are put a pin in it and will participate later. So I kind of keep it at front and center in their minds with the monthly newsletter, and my peer mentors create that, and so that's kind of fun. We started something this winter, Cocoa Cafe, since we're Montana and it's kind of winter a long time. Wanted to enjoy that, and so get to know students, and that's been fun. An info session watch party. We invited students to come join one of David's info sessions. We'd have treats and just anybody interested in that. So that was fun. Yard signs around campus. Several different times I just ordering a sandwich board that I can place around campus, but just any kind of advertising that way. Utilizing bulletin boards either in the dorms or around different departments around campus. We regularly submit the info sessions that David offers to TV monitors. So every month I change those out so that students are aware of what's coming, and then I create a QR code so that they can just scan that and go right in and register for those info sessions. We have a program here in experiential learning and career success. I'm also a career coach, and so we're two houses. We have experiential learning and career success. So National Student Exchange is a part of the experiential learning side of the house. And we have Career Champions, which is encouraging our faculty to incorporate more career preparation curriculum. And we have a newsletter for those faculty and departments. And so I include National Student Exchange information on that on a regular basis. Also, we've joined forces with the Global Engagement Office for a study abroad fair. That was new this year, and that was actually really helpful. And I met a lot of students connected, and we're able to inform them of opportunities. The last one is utilizing campus marketing masters, and we have one here in our department, Experiential Learning Career Success, Keely Morrison, and she has branded much of our advertising to our campus colors and logos and all of that fun type of thing. And so she posts on Instagram and has our labeling out there and like the TV monitors and different marketing strategies that she utilizes. So it's kind of nice to have a partner in that neck of the woods. So utilizing your own campus marketing if that's available. So next slide, please, David. So some of the most effective is the blast email to the targeted audience. And in that email, I included the peer mentor video. And that was, it was amazing to see the results from that. Class presentations, as many of you have said, that's been really effective. And then the study abroad fair that we did in conjunction with the Global Engagement Office. So my best advice is watch David's marketing video, and that was super helpful. But the second one is asking each other. So I have reached out to several National Student Exchange coordinators and asked them, what are your best practices? Emily Mason over at Montana State University, she's been in the program for a while, and I've utilized her brain, picked her brain a little bit. So also, you never know until you try. There's been flops. There's stuff that we've tried that's not been very successful at all. but sometimes you just never know. So try new and try different. That's my best advice. So thank you for listening.
You bet. Thank you, Mindy. And I did pull out a couple of the hyperlinks in your email and put them in the chat so people can see your email, as well as my marketing video, which is recorded last October, I think. So thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Next up, we have Anne from University of Alaska Fairbanks.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, David. So we have a fewer priority placements this year than last year, but already starting to catch up with direct placements. Still hoping to get the same or beat my last year numbers total. We go to next slide, please. So on our internal NSE application, I've been asking students how they heard about NSE. So I thought I'd just share kind of what that's looking like. These are numbers from both last year and this year, or going into next academic year so far. So a lot of the same strategies people have already talked about that we're seeing reflected in how students heard about the program. I guess one hasn't been mentioned quite as much yet that did turn out slightly at the top of my list is new student orientation. That is one that I find is kind of offers a lot of bang for your buck in terms of time investment. For me, that looks like both doing a really short, like less than 1 minute presentation in front of a very large group of students, being part of our new online orientation, which was a new thing this year. And then also students at new student orientation get like a grab bag of like swag and goodies and information. And this year I ordered bookmarks to put in that bag because that was the only thing I could afford to order enough of for like 600 incoming students. I don't know exactly these 7 students I heard about through new story in orientation and ended up signing up which of those ways they heard about it. But new story orientation was definitely a good way to get to students. But really what strikes me the most about this feedback from students about they heard about it is just the spread of that students are hearing about it in all kinds of different ways. And it is really important to have a multi-pronged approach, especially because there will be some students that hear about it once and they're like, yes, this is for me, I'm going to do it. But so many students need to hear about it multiple times or in multiple different ways before they're willing to take that leap. So I recently had a student that came in for an appointment and talked with me. And she actually told me, you know, the first time that there's peer advisors that came in and presented to one of my classes. So my peer advisors are student workers who work in my office. And the student said, the first time peer advisors presented to my class, I thought, this isn't for me. The second time I started kind of thinking about it. And the third time I set up this appointment. So a lot of times students do need to hear about it in multiple ways or multiple times. The other thing that stands out to me for these numbers is that among the top ways students heard about it was from a friend or classmate. To me, that's saying, and that's something I hear from students too, that they're hearing about it from friends. And so that's kind of starting to build that culture where people are talking about it and hearing about it, not just directly from what I'm doing. So I'm really happy to see that. Next slide, please. So to me, I think like I said, it is really important that the most effective strategy is making it multi-pronged. David, I think we just had another.
Oops. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Actually, I think I need to do reshare. There we go.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yep, thanks.
I think it's important to be having a multi-pronged approach and pushing from a lot of different angles. So I don't think a lot of what I've done is very unique. It's a lot of the same things other people have said. But also I remember just like less than 3 years ago, being a very new coordinator that felt very overwhelmed by all these different possible ways to get the word out. And I think for me, what's been effective is kind of taking it one step at a time, building up that strategy, gradually incorporating these different ways of getting the word out. And then just knowing that, you're not just recruiting individual students, like you're building that culture. And so that these things will pay off in students eventually telling their friends about it too. And getting into your routine. So it's easier, like it's harder the first time you do everything, but once you get into your routine of this is something I do every year, it does eventually become easier. So you still have to keep doing that recruitment each year, but just knowing that it will get easier over time as you build that. Another thing that's been important for me is I am a one-person study abroad and NSE, so study away office. So I do all my NSE recruitment in tandem with international study abroad recruitment. But like several other people have said, featuring NSE and putting it front and center in that, because study abroad is something a lot of people know about, but they may not realize they have the opportunity for NSE too. So I'll show in just a moment what that looks like on our website, but that's true also on our handouts and brochures. NSE is always featured right up at the top there. And my other, I think, best advice, also echoing what some other people have said, making use of student employees or volunteers if you have the opportunity to do so. That's been a real lifesaver for me the last year and a half, that I have had some student workers, in my case, a team of 4 to 6 students working 3 to 5 hours a week each. And recruitment is what I outsource the most to them. So doing classroom presentations, managing social media, tabling at campus events, all very time-consuming things, but very important to be doing, and where hearing from students is even more effective than hearing from me. So I think that's been a really important part of my recruitment strategy. Next slide, please. And so this is kind of an example of what I mean by putting NSE front and center. This is our Study Away program database and via TRM, where we have all our international programs, but I've made sure that NSE turns up right at the top, which I did just by putting a little asterisk at the front of the names, because it goes in alphabetical order and asterisk is technically at the top, and then made it a little bit more visible by breaking it up and separating out the 50 states and then Canada and the US territories, so students know they have those options they may not otherwise think of, and you see a whole band of NSE across the top. And that's it for me.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thanks so much, Anne. We're going to keep rolling here to Jamie Perez at Florida International University.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, or good, I guess, midday in some places. My name is Jamie. I've been the coordinator for this program for quite some time, and actually NSE has been part of FIU's history, I think, since 1990, for a long time. One of the biggest challenges that I had, I am a one-person office as well, and a lot of similarities with Anne, what she mentioned at Fairbanks. In our case, I found a lot of times that NSE was kind of lost in transition in the shadows of study abroad. We are our own office, National Student Exchange, so we are a small, but we like to call boutique office at FIU. We have over 55,000 students spread out through the multiple campuses and satellite locations. So a lot of times students, parents, even administration get confused what NSE is all about. So that was one of the biggest initiatives I had within the last few years in trying to kind of clarify certain things and what we have to offer. So next slide, please. So joining forces with our education abroad friends. That was one of the biggest campaigning that we started. A lot of times it really generated right before the pandemic and during the pandemic, but we've actually strengthened those bonds in the last year or two, where we've kind of joined forces and tried to set the ground as a common denominator that anywhere in the university that education abroad would be presenting or advocating for, NSE would be included as well, and vice versa. So we joined forces in that way to increase awareness, to be able to recruit in diverse locations, diverse formats, modalities, and calling it just study away opportunities. Even though we're two separate offices, a lot of times that's not understood in our student culture or parent culture. So the biggest, I would say, beginning point was at our freshman orientation level, and that does include orientations that are in person, online, and through guidebooks. Guidebooks is kind of a platform that we use to maintain all webinars, all recordings, all online documents that we provide to students and parents. So that has been the biggest campaign that we did was our freshman orientation. In fact, this year we're revamping it again, and we're showcasing every day of orientation a different department. So we're going to have the opportunity to showcase NSE amongst the entire student peer leaders and administration. We made special T-shirts I would say it's about 115 t-shirts that we're ordering. And that's going to be worn by the entire staff of freshman orientation. So that day will be a big plug for NSE at FIU. And it's just kind of like an attraction point for conversations that day. And it'll be showcased just for NSE, and everyone will be wearing those t-shirts for NSE that day. So every year we've been kind of tweaking it, and this year we're including the t-shirts. But we've actually cross-trained. Our education abroad folks have trained for NSE, and we've trained for education abroad so that we can co-present in everything. If one department is not available, then that one department can handle both at the same time, and that does include tabling on campus, parent webinars. We do usually include both departments there, and the webinars are recorded and placed in our social media pages for admissions, for our parent orientation offices, on our guidebooks. So this is something that we have data and see how many parents and students do come back and watch those webinars through our Office of Parent and Freshman Orientation. Our transfer students, we target sort of like a meet and greet, and we're invited to those as well. Student center, like tabling, our student centering programming events. Again, we are cross-trained. This year in particular, we did a lot of craft events with education abroad. We kind of painted some tote bags. We did some postcards that students can come and make for their families and send back home. So it's just increasing that awareness of what are the similarities and differences that we have available to all study away opportunities for our students. The FIU Admitted Day, new advisor and departmental training. That's something new that we've also empowered both departments to showcase. We get all the new advisors. We have lots and lots of advisors and a lot of changes amongst the university of, over 55,000 students. So teaming up and presenting at the new advisor training from the beginning, before they even start working at the university, they're going to learn what NSE and education abroad offers. So that's a nice way to clarify the differences and similarities. A lot of times I find advisors are confused or don't know the difference or think that everything is education abroad or study abroad. So that has been a nice defining factor in capturing that attention for our academic units and the new advisor trainings as well. And then like social events and student programming events on campus. We post all our information sessions that we conduct through our Panther Connect forum, which is the kind of the website that students log in to join any student programs, councils, student events and clubs, and we post it on the FIU calendar and through our Panther Connect as well. So that has been a nice selling point, inviting students to attend our information sessions or inviting students to attending our programming events on campus to mingle with NSE and education abroad. And then, targeting our student audience, like the other partners here have described. We run a mass query with we have a kind of a query report that we run. Our recruiting for priority versus our recruiting for direct placements. We run two different queries, and we actually are able to target that query on a weekly basis. And like Anne said, persistence does work. If it doesn't work the first time, the second or the third, I've had students, tell me that and say, I'm here because I received your email or your message 3 times. And at the third time, I thought, why not? Let me try it. Let me go check it out. So that does work. I have been doing this for many years and I have not stopped. Thankfully, our university allows it. And that has been a great way to announce and send mass communication. It's a very simple, congratulations, you're eligible for this program. Come see us, attend one of our sessions. So we do have preset dates already for our information sessions, primarily for our priority recruitment timeframe. Now for direct placements, I've kind of been deferring students to go see David in the online information sessions that he's conducting because they're going to get the same information. When they see me, they're going to be NSE experts, and then I just kind of have to tweak it to cater to the FIU details. So that's kind of how we've done it. We have the preset information sessions for ourselves, priority recruitment, and then we phase it off over using David's information sessions. And then when I see the students, I'll tweak them into the details for FIU. Yep, next slide, please. Mm-hmm. So the most effective is showcasing NSE early on, capturing that attention early on when the students joining FIU, whether they're a freshman or transfer student, and also the parents. The parents A lot of times students are not able to attend all the sessions that they want to or get information on all the details that they're looking for as a student. And they get a lot of information. You know, the day of orientation is a little overwhelming. So sometimes it's a parent that comes to see our session, or sometimes they come to meet our table. So getting them early on and then following through afterwards in our other formats that we just discussed. But that early onset is a great opportunity. I think, in my opinion, it has been very effective for us. And then establishing those connections with academic departments and university partners, like other partners here. You know, I think it was Britain that worked on developing those relationships with the different partners. We've done that through the years, and then we've kind of tweaked it as we've moved along in the evolution of curriculum, the evolution of how the university works. Those have to be tweaked through the years and how things evolve. And again, just for us has been a big initiative working with Education Abroad, partnering and empowering the university, students, parents, and administration, showing them, you know, defining those differences. A lot of times it's confusing. So that has been the most effective for us. And the best advice is outline the program, application steps, be clear on what the program has to offer, including the information on the website. So that's one of the things I do with our students in an information session. I walk them through through the website, so that they are confident looking at these profiles. Sometimes they don't quite understand that this information they're getting is up to date and it's the real information. It's live from our partner institutions. So giving them that sense of confidence, navigating our website gives them that extra step of confidence they need to really apply and say, okay, I know this information is accurate. I'm going to move on through with this. I feel confident with what I'm looking at. That has been, you know, successful for our students. So I really recommend that. And yeah, establishing those definitions. A lot of times students or advisors or faculty don't understand the differences and similarities, and making those definitions, you know, clear for that audience. I think that would be a good advice in really clarifying the differences and similarities. Yep. And that's all for all. Thank you for having me here and thank you for listening. I hope it's helpful. Feel free to reach me if you have any other questions.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jamie. Jamie, what was your first NSE conference? When did you start?
2007.
I think I've you beat by 1 year. I was 2006, but I know we've been partners and collaborators for a long time. So,
Yes.
well, thank you all. I am going to share some of my perspectives as well from the U of M Twin Cities. And I think most people know I'm half-time NSE VP, but my other half is at the University of Minnesota. I'm the assistant director for the Center for Community Engaged Learning. So that's one thing that's been really unique today. We've had probably half of our presenters that are housed within study abroad or international programs, and another half that are outside. But that collaboration between each other and between other offices on your campus is really key to having a successful NSE program. I'm going to skip around a little bit or just talk quickly. I've listed some of my tips here. Emails really do work. It's not the one and only thing that you should be doing, but it is the best way to reach a large swath of students. I'm on a giant campus as well, over 50,000 students. So this is the one thing that I do. And I send one email per semester. And then I do some more targeted emails based on departments and things like that. So that has been really successful. We've heard a lot about this from everybody, I think, about building a campus network. NSE is really a program that cannot just exist in a vacuum on your campus. You can't just have a website listing and expect people to come. You have to let other departments know about NSE because we're not necessarily a known entity. Everyone's heard about study abroad, but study away or national student exchange is a little bit less known. So you need your admissions office or your trio, all of these different offices to be talking about NSE with their students. Couple of things that are really important and effective for me. I've had a struggle with my admissions office for a long time. They have not been as receptive to me attending orientations or admitted student days or being part of campus tour presentations and things. But that's been shifting in the last 2 years. And so this upcoming summer, I'm actually going to be training all of our campus tour guides so that they have at least a little snippet about NSE when they walk by my building. So I'm really looking forward to that partnership, but it's taken a long time to build that. These are all the other units on my campus that I really work with. Campus media, every year I write up kind of a mini mini press release about what students are doing at NSE, have a couple of quotes and a couple of photos. And every probably second year, I have my campus marketing, my campus media office will profile an NSE student, which has really been effective too. Visibility is important. I think Mindy talked about this. I have sandwich boards. I will table in the front of my building as well as some of the fairs and events that other people have talked about. We actually have this mural right out of our office as well. It's a decal actually it's a white decal that my students put up on the wall, but then they hand painted every single state, province, and territory, which is pretty cool, pretty eye-catching. One thing that I think is really important, and it took me a long time to learn this, is really NSE is a program that does need to be explained, and the nuance of NSE needs to be explained to students. Jamie said it is important to help students navigate the website, walk them through all sections. And, specifically things like tuition, my elevator speech is either you'll pay U of M tuition or you'll pay in-state tuition to the other school. But that seems a little bit ambiguous and a little bit confusing to students. So specifically with tuition, and especially now during direct placements, I'll be really concrete and say, hey, FIU is still available on away pay only for fall 26. If you go to FIU, you will pay this amount. And actually, no, this is a screenshot from Cal State Northridge. They're still open on away pay. This is their tuition amount. So letting students know very concretely, this is doable, this is the tuition that you'll pay. So explaining the nuance. Financial aid, giving a blanket statement about most financial aid applies, but in my case, I can talk about the North Star Promise, which is a full ride scholarship for lower income students that applies to NSE students on home pay only, or credits, or chance of placement. It's really interesting to me. We have, the terms open on our website. That means campuses accept all qualified students. I still have to explain to students, as long as you're eligible, open means you will be accepted by that campus, not competitive, no, risk of not being accepted. And so explaining that nuance of NSE. And then we've heard about this before, consistent and persistent follow-up with every inquiry. I ask engaging questions in my emails. If I get an inquiry through the NSE website, I'll respond to that student right away and say, hey, I'm your NSE coordinator. I'm really happy you're looking to do this. What do you hope to accomplish out of the program? Are there specific destinations or locations or campuses you're interested in? When do you want to go? To try to engage them in that conversation. Invite students to the info sessions or one-on-one meetings. I have a calendar link they can just schedule with me. And then a reminder, and I'll show you this here in a bit, you can export your app portal and send reminder emails as well. So follow up with those students that initiated an application but didn't quite proceed, because those students are your population of interested students. And then a reminder that placements don't end in March. I had really healthy numbers for priority placements in March, but I still am aiming to place dozens of students for the next academic year. And that's information available on the NSE website, the chance of placement page in particular. So I'm checking my time here. I think we have a few more minutes. Reminder about some resources for you. First of all, NSE does establish recruitment goals based on campus enrollment. And this comes from historical numbers pre-COVID, when our numbers were a little bit healthier than they are right now. And obviously, it's pretty clear the bigger campuses tend to place more students. So our biggest campuses, we encourage you to target placing 20 students, 33,000 plus enrollment, placing about 20 students. And on down some of our smaller campuses, we encourage you to try to place about 5 students. This is historical numbers based on actual placement statistics. And so we encourage all of you to strive for this number on the screen, or exceed it, of course. There are some resources for you. Our goal is always to connect students with you early on in the process. And so on the NSE website, as we've always said, we have a request info button. When a student requests info from your campus, you get an email notification. Those students are also stored in your student inquiries section of your NSE dashboard. Similarly, when students click apply now, and when they start that application, you receive an email notification, and those students are logged in your app portal. So please follow up with those students. Also, in addition, there we go. Students who initiate inquiries through the NSE website also are included in our NSE recruitment email campaign. So this was part of the goal with the new website revamp and new CRM, in that we will be communicating directly with students, giving them little bits of and bytes of information about NSE. Of course, always directing them to you. Our aim is to supplement and support your recruitment efforts in directing students your way. There are some resources. Again, this was mentioned, I think, by Jamie and others. I host weekly info sessions virtually, of course. Those are all listed on the NSE website. Students are encouraged to attend those. I actually love for coordinators to attend them as well. And I thought it was so cool, Mindy, a couple of months ago when I saw you log in, and then I think you messaged, oh, there's a group of 10 students all sitting here. You had popcorn and had a watch party. So I hope I did okay for you that day. But if you don't offer your own info sessions or to supplement those that you offer, please promote those that I host as well. And then lastly, NSE is on social media. So please follow us on social media. These links are all at the bottom of the NSE website. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. We're also on LinkedIn, which we don't really talk much about. It's not necessarily a student platform, but I think if you're on LinkedIn, please follow us there. I'm also going to put a link in the chat. This is actually, I think Lisa from Mississippi State started this a few years ago, but we also encourage you to follow each other's social media pages for inspiration, to get to know that campus, etc. I love following all of our NSE campuses. So this is a spreadsheet. You should add your own social media links if they're not there. But also follow each other's social media links, specifically if they're NSE dedicated programs or study abroad sometimes that includes NSE. So follow all of those there too. And then lastly, just a reminder that NSE placements continue nearly year-round. There are still 140 campuses available for placement next year via what we call direct placement. On the NSE website, you'll see this chance of acceptance button. There you can see campus availability and their deadlines for fall semester and/or spring semester. And the process is pretty simple. Students will pick a school on the list. You will approve their application, collect that application fee, and request placement. Oftentimes, those placements happen within 24 to 48 hours. So it's a very quick and easy, kind of self-fulfilling or gratifying experience working with a student. Say, hey, you want to go to FIU? Well, they're still open. Their deadline's not passed. Let's get you placed. So reminder to keep those placements rolling via direct placements. Well, that is the end of my slides. We do have a couple of minutes here, 2 minutes, I guess I should say. If anybody has questions, comments, anything else that you'd like to contribute, now's the time. Does anybody have a recruitment tip that we did not cover that was really effective for you?
I have a quick question, David. For those that have shared, and I'm sure everyone has an issue with finding funding for certain things, but I have no funding for food or like those kind of appetizing features for info sessions. So I'm curious if you have successfully, as coordinators, secured funding for such a thing or have had to work towards that. I'd love some guidance on maybe how to make that and support that type of info session.
Yeah, I'll say quickly on my campus. So I'm able to dedicate a portion of my campus budget for food. And so, advocate for that if possible when your budget's being set for that next year, even if it's $100 or mine is $300 for pizza for info sessions, essentially. And I also applied for a grant through our student unions and activities to partner. We partnered with a couple student organizations to host an info session about NSE, and that grant actually paid for the food. So if you're able to partner or apply for grants like that. Any other ideas on that?
So
Go ahead, Mindy.
I have a suggestion is just piggybacking off of other people's events. If Trio's having an event or the Honors College is having an event, and it's okay if you're tabling there and they're offering food. You don't have to pay for it.
Yeah. Dahlia, go ahead.
So I have a suggestion. I've not been consistent with this, but I know that it has made a difference. Maybe NSC can help us with this. I think I brought this up before. I've tried to create flyers for campuses, highlighting like your majors, maybe your clubs and organizations, or great things about your campus. And what I do is like say September is Hispanic Heritage Month. So I would like send out all the schools that are Hispanic serving institutions, or just try to send it on a weekly basis where you can highlight a different campus within NSC. It's a lot of work. I can't keep up with it, but I do know if I had 165 flyers already, I would be a lot more committed than me having to create one for every campus. And I think it's an easy way to advertise the programs, highlight different campuses. It could be at the tip of our fingertips. I don't know if it's easier for NSC to do it or just ask each campus to create one flyer that you could share and it will be available. And we could just every week or twice a week, you can highlight different campuses through NSC.
That's
Yeah.
such a good idea. If we
Yeah.
each in the coordinator email, maybe I'll send something out, Dahlia, and be like, and kind of organize that. Because I think the flyer, if each of us just make it and focus on our own institution, essentially replicate our profile. And then we
Right.
can highlight, here's Midwest, here's Pacific Northwest, here. That's a great idea.
And if I have them, it's easier for me to just type up an email and put it out than having to create 165 flyers. I think I have like 30 something.
That would be so helpful. And then like have like food or something at the event after sending those emails. I love that. I will start that process in our coordinator listserv. I like that idea.
Thank you.
Awesome. Any other thoughts, comments, suggestions?
One other thing addressing Kaylee's question about funding, not really specifically for food, but just funding in general. For my student workers, I have a few students who, because I'm also a study abroad office, those positions are funded by our provider organizations, but those provider organizations funding those student worker positions allow them to talk about all of our programs, including NSE. So that's helped me have more capacity there.
Oh, interesting. The other thought I just had is, Kaylee, I don't know if you charge a separate application fee for your campus, separate from NSE's 150 application fee. I charge $225 total, so I have $75 per student. That actually also does give me a budget or contribute to a budget. I use that mostly for my outgoing orientation and events for outgoing students, but that's another way to create a budget.
Yeah, I am just navigating what's the most useful for those funds because right
Yep.
now it's for programming to support both because I'm inbound and outbound for everyone.
Yep.
So I'm like, I can't just put it towards one or the other. So I think it's also, yeah, just curating that. But yeah, I'm figuring that out too.
Totally. Yep. Okay. Well, I do want to be respectful of everybody's time, and I actually have to get prepared I have a makeup orientation for my outgoing students here in a little bit. So I think I'm going to end the meeting here. Love the conversation and energy. Again, thank you to all the presenters here today, and stay tuned for a couple more webinars this upcoming spring. And make use of that listserv. Like I said, if you have posters that you want to create or share information about your campus, please do that. That's excellent. And always reach out to NSE HQ if there's anything that we can do to support you. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Happy end of March.
Bye.